to quickly share a story that would lead to my question. So I was like some years back, I was working at my desk in my office just another day, and all of a sudden I just got a text message that was sending me an OTP for a transaction that I did not do. And bear in mind that that account that sent me that OTP was where I had almost all my little life savings. And at that spot, I carried my laptop and I ran out and I was calling the call center that you cannot make me lose my money. My money is in that account. Please, what is going on? So it brings me to my question that what are the most pressing cybersecurity threats currently facing Nigeria's banking sector today?
Okay, thank you, Busaya. This is a very important question. Nigeria banking sectors, like any others globally, is experiencing surge in cyber security threats. And it's very interesting when my other panelist, Tayo, was explaining the historical evolution of a digital journey, whereby one thing I can bring out from there is that then you have cases of armed robbery attacking branches, and then if you cap out the loss, maybe a few millions of naira, and most of the time the attack surface area in that location is somehow restricted to maybe people that know this bank, they brought in money and all that. But now with digital evolution, whereby we have your attack surface area is now so big that somebody can be far away in Europe, far away in Asia, far away in Eastern Europe, and start launching an attack on you. So that's one of the major challenges and one of the major threats facing the financial institution in Nigeria. And to now go to the topmost one, which related to the scenario you painted, we call it social engineering threats. Social engineering threats simply means act of deceiving people, either to lure them to provide sensitive information about themselves or to lure them to perform an action that could compromise the security posture of an organization. For example, now, an employee that works in a financial institution that receives a phishing mail that says, click this, your account will be disabled, and immediately click that link, a virus is downloaded on his system, and from there, it created electoral networks on the environment and start security breach happen. Now, coming back home to the one that relates to customers, some of them can come in form of phishing emails, whereby if your account is not, if you don't quickly update your account will be suspended. And one of the things that our customer needs to be aware of is there's usually a sense of urgency when that such mail comes, because the fraudster, one thing about them is that they are highly impatient. They just want quickly see how people quickly respond, and so that they can lash on that their naivety. That one comes via email. Then another one that comes that you receive, we call it smishing. SMISHIN. That's when you receive a phishing mail via SMS, whereby some of them could come as form of a promo that the federal government is running a promo, do this, click this link. And one of the things is that by the time you click the link, they ask you for your static data. What is a personally identifiable information that cannot change? Your BVN, your NIN cannot change. And the thing is that by the time those data are harvested, another person can use that data to impersonate. You now have the area whereby you can create what we call synthetic ID, whereby you use a valid BVN or NIN with a fake data to now create an ID with the use of AI, which we'll be getting to later. Now, the other one is called Vision, where that's a VISHIN. That one is whereby you see people calling via phone, pretending to be from customer experience center, whereby in fact, you see cases whereby the elderly ones, they lose money via this mode, whereby that's where the literacy level needs to quickly be worked on so that people will know how this is working. Because with this, in as much as customer divulge the details, there's nothing the financial institution can do at that moment, unless you now start having some AI being deployed, some intelligence system that can just go. But by the time you have your static data being collected, we're able to use it to do SIM swap and the likes. It becomes a major challenge. Another threat that is still is on the rising trend is what we call insider threats, which can be malicious or accidental. Banks cannot provide services alone to customer without relying on third-party service provider. For example, that you have your internet service provider, You have your core banking service support provider. You have fintech partners, a lot of them. So if an employee or with a privileged asset not properly managed can abuse the
You
privilege, start selling data, start selling customer data.
also are
That's another
important.
And the third one is the ransomware and data extortion threat. This ransomware, we normally call it online kidnapping. Whereby you can see your laptop, it's useless, you can't access it. It's a process whereby a virus is, or a user is allowed to download something on the system and the file become inaccessible. So at that point in time, the only way you can get your files is when you pay a ransom to a specific account. And now that ransomware has gone a step further now. When you now see the cyber criminals, immediately they get that ransomware deployed on the system, they start what we call data exfiltration. They start stealing data. So by the time they steal the data, they now start issuing threats that if you don't pay so amount of money, we release this to the public, or we start selling in the dark web. Dark web is just a forum, underground forum whereby you sell, whereby they can buy and sell stolen data. So that's another major threat facing the industry. Then the next one, which I will go as a result of the digital evolution, is the API, poorly configured API threat. As we are integrating, we are doing fine, we are doing the mobile app, internet banking, and other. You are integrating what we call application programming interface, APIs, to different parties. Now, if those APIs are not properly deployed, those APIs, anybody can call it up, can either use it to harvest data or to even initiate fraudulent transaction. So, and the last but not the least is what we call supply chain threat, which is somehow related to third parties I mentioned earlier. But this one, what it does is that because now we have the financial system is now an ecosystem, whereby if a third party service provider is compromised, because they have a leg on the network of the financial institution, it can be leveraged to get access to the financial institution network. So that's why it's very important for banks to have a holistic cybersecurity program that will cut across deployment of advanced technology, have the right skilled people to manage it, and have a very robust process to be able to have end-to-end management of these threats. So that's what I will just chip in.
All
For
right.
that
Thank
as a
you
cyber
very
threat.
much for sharing,
Yeah.
several types of ways that people can actually go about, scamming people and, getting sensitive information about them. If only I had known this, I would have not. Because as they didn't respond to me, I just knelt down. I said, my mother, my father, they will not. Thank you for that information. So we will drift away from security just for a bit and step back into the financial inclusion space. So there was a question that I saw here and I just felt the need to ask Mrs. Uche. So it says that what role does financial literacy play in inclusion and how can banks take the lead in improving it?
When I talk about the barriers,
Yes.
without the knowledge, all the things that we're discussing, why do I have to do what I want? Why would I have to have that understand what it will do for me? Also understand
Yeah.
how convenient it is. So that literacy is important. How can banks improve on that? So first of all, banks can improve on like on their financial literacy by partnering with community leaders. So let me take it down to the to remote areas. The banks can't do it. They have to partner with community.
So let us.
Partner with the market women. Also partner with even developmental organizations to be able to give that literacy out there. Also breaking it down in such a way that the consumers, the target market will understand. And that will take me to also having like radio programs. You could even have plays, shows. So for instance, if you come to one location, so let's say we're somewhere around the solo, and you have those target market women there. Then you bring out this your slide and you're just speaking all the English. They won't even understand what you're talking about. But if we use things like a play role, even using them, telling them, okay, you on a normal day, how do you keep your money? what do you understand? How do you keep your money? They will come and say, okay, well, after today's sales, they will carry it to some company side of it, but we'll even get home, you will hide it under under the mat. So we will put it inside a bag of rice or even bag of gari. If you remember the videos that Sanef has, probably we have this video with the Baba that also the woman hid the money in the bag of gari, and the woman carried the bag of gari with the basin and so of course the money disappeared. So of course telling those stories like that in such a way that they will understand it, trust it and embrace it. Another way is also partnering with, collaborating with the education sector. So if we also imbibe financial literacy from primary school curriculum to secondary school. We just concluded the whole 1 week. So when we talk about this gap, it starts from that time. So what are we talking about? I remember when I went to primary school, there was nothing like that. So perhaps, I don't know if that was in your curriculum. Can you remember? So if we start from that time to imbibe it, in the curriculum for school curriculum, it will also make it easier. They are coming up as well. Another one is using gamifying tools these days, into turning into apps, puzzle, because you have to make the literacy interesting. You have to make the learning interesting, for them. Also having some apps that we can use to educate them, because the banks can't go everywhere. Also using some of the workshops. It could also be some memorable events. So for instance, during the Women's Month, like Choma said, a lot of that engagement, because I'm very particular about women, we had to do a lot of that, telling those stories, and also intensifying them, having intensifying them. Because one thing is about you coming up with, another thing is that what will also even make them attractive. So have some intensifying programs, that that will also attract them. Then in doing that, you also have to train the trainer. So at some point, you have champions in the communities who will be also blowing the trumpet, who will be going around and telling them, oh, you haven't joined, better join me, all those kind of things. So if we have that in place, I believe that the literacy, financial literacy gap, and also for the banks, because it's also a low budget cost. Again, another one is using your social media as well. Social media is doing a whole lot today to tell that story. And another question would be that, some people are not also on social media. Let's not forget the traditional media. You see that radio, you listen to that. You see those newspapers, those dailies that they publish on. So this will be targeted to different locations. There's one particular one that I think he just talked about. Is it sports? They just buy it. Then I don't know if it's still 15 naira. It's still. The other day I was posting, I still saw that. So you have to be deliberate, intentional, targeted. They buy those. They spend their money in buying those ones. Yes, we're talking about apps and all, but everybody cannot have smartphones. Someone has already told us that the percentage. But we also have to deliberate, look at other forms, other areas. Even in churches, we could use the churches. We could use the mosque to do that. During any festivity, traditional rulers, maybe there's one important festival. We also use those avenues, working with the government to imbibe the literacy in that. And I believe if we do all that, and these are some of the things we're doing as well, that will also be an avenue to listen to the customer, to take feedback that will make them to have a smooth customer experience by the time we take some of these initiatives in place.
All right. So from what you've said so far, it just goes to show that there are several channels to pass this information across. So I would be speaking to Tayo. So I'm sure that it goes out of year, beyond year. Everyone knows that Premium Trust is the champion for financial inclusion and access to finance. So it brings me to ask you the question that what role do platforms like the Blaze play in accelerating financial access and lifestyle convenience for Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much. So Blaze is a financial lifestyle ecosystem. It's more than an app. And what we're doing with Blaze is it's based on three models. That's the bank to customer, the bank to businesses, and bank to business, so that we can serve the customers of those businesses. So it's more than just an application. And so when we talk about the bank to customer, what we're trying to do is to enable customers to unlock financial freedom. We're selling convenience to our customers. And when we talk about convenience, we're saying, look, enough of these charges. We're giving you unlimited free transfers. We're saying that instead of you having multiple applications, multiple apps, you have one-stop shop in Bliss. You can do your buy now, pay later. You can pay bills without charges. You can also pay your insurance premium in installments, because we know that a lot of people, why they don't do their comprehensive insurances because of the amount. And so you can pay in installments over a period of time at no cost. So when we say financial inclusion, yes, we know we have to also cater for the underserved. And what we've done with Bliss is that, like we said, it's not an app, it's an ecosystem. So what we can do is to partner with those agents out there. We can immediately issue cards, instant cards for them. And one thing about agency banking that is okay is that you have POSs that you can use to withdraw cash. So what we do is you can open an account for someone offline. You can still migrate the person into Blaze later on when the person becomes mature enough to now use the mobile application, and then you can issue a card. The card is very important in what we're talking about here. And what we've also done on Blaze, again, is to be able to include women. You will see a feature on Blaze when it comes to financial inclusion for women, in the sense that women can have access to loans for them to be able to stock up. And by stocking up, they will be able to sell more and also be able to have enough income to be able to take care of their families. So we're also doing that. And when we talk about the business-to-business approach, what we've observed is that businesses want to sell more. And that is where Blaze comes into play. So if you're a business owner, we give you the opportunity on Blaze for you to be able to pay in installments. So offer pay in installments to your customers. So for example, you can walk into an electronics shop and then without a force, you can actually get a credit digitally, and then you can pay over time. And what Blaze is doing is that we're trying to change the perception of banking, which is everything you need, you should be able to get it on that application. That's the Blaze application. And what we're also doing again is we're imbibing open banking, which is to layer businesses. Because I talked about data. All those platforms, like the Ubers and Netflix and co., we're talking about big data here. I talked about personalization. What we're trying to do with Blaze is to layer also with some of these guys, partner with them to ensure that we can offer banking services through those platforms also. So those are the kind of things that you will continue to see on Blaze. It's an ecosystem whereby once you're in it, you won't want to leave. And that is what we're all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to digress a little, you said something when you were explaining just now. You mentioned how Blaze is representing some of the underserved community.
Yes.
Then you talked about how they are trying to do financial inclusion for women. And it brought me to ask this question. Like, if I want to buy like 10 million naira bone straight, for example, you need to help me onboard a vendor that I can be paying, in installment for my bone straight. If you can do that for me,
yes,
I really appreciate it.
So on Blaze, yes, on Blaze, what we've done again is that you see that a lot of businesses don't have online presence. And what we've done on Blaze is to make sure that we can bring you online. Because in the next 5 years, like I said, what you'll be seeing is that a lot of businesses will be transforming into that online business. And that's what Blaze has been positioned for. So your bone straight person can come on Blaze. And then we can also create, an independent online presence for that customer free of charge, which is we give you your website and we put our payment gateway behind it. And then you can run on your own.
Please come to Premium Trust Bank. Go straight. All right. Thank you very much, Tayo, for that really, really insightful discussion. So I will be coming back to Mrs. Aminat now. I just want to ask you, so what role does customer trust play in digital banking, and how can banks strengthen it amidst cybersecurity concerns? So from what we've said so far, how can
customer trust.
That?
Okay, so thank you very much, Busayo. So the reality is that our customers are becoming more digitally active. But most importantly, I think they're also becoming more privacy conscious. So what does that mean? It means that for every time they want to engage with us, they want to feel safe. They want to understand that, they can trust their savings and their deposits in our care. So I think the key takeaway for organizations, especially banks, is that how do we apply this data more responsibly? When we leverage on our customers' data, for example, to push out products, features, and services, are we truly doing it in such a way that it's genuinely adding value to the customers? And that's what we do here at Premium Trust Bank. I mean, and I'll use an example. I'll describe. I'll use an example to describe this. We know that let's use the salary earners as an example. We know that at some certain days towards the end of the month, salaries are paid. So that's when you see us pushing out communications that are personalized towards smart saving tips, because we know the inflows will come in. So we advise you, would you want to save? We have the Piggy Vest feature on our mobile app. So we push out communications that are actually mutually beneficial, not just to make it look like we're trying to sell a service. We're also conscious of the fact that there must be value that must be added to you as a customer. So such the use of, when we use data in that light, customers are able to trust us. So it's more like personalization that is helpful and not necessarily intrusive, because at the end of the day, customers, when you're onboarding the digital platform, you see the check. Customers begin to think, it's almost like, do you have the handcuff? Once I click on this check, am I liable to everything? No, we have a platform that allows you to opt out in the event that, you think, okay, I'm not going to go into this. But most importantly, we let our customers know that those data privacy measures are more like trust builders for them. We're not making it look like, you guys are on your own, click on this and you're gone. So with that, customers begin to build trust and they're able to transact freely and safely and seamlessly on our platforms. So I think that speaks to the question that you've just asked me.
Can I chip in one or two?
Yes, please.
In addition to that, is that the bank is compliant to Nigeria Data Protection Act, which is an act to regulate the data privacy in the country, and alongside the compliance with other cybersecurity global security management framework like ISO 27000, PCI DSS for the card security, because these are the things that provide independent assurance
Yeah.
to that the bank takes security and privacy of data seriously. And one thing is that is we understand here is that by the time you ensure that you have a very robust platform that is digitally with security embedded in it, customers become the ambassador of the product. Because by the time they know that their money is safe with the bank, they become the ambassador and they start, drastically, you just see the increase in the onboarding process. And from there, you see customer coming in, onboarding on the platform. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. So I'd missed the discussion around bank products and all that. I would like to ask you, Choma, like how can banks design product that genuinely meets the needs of low-income earners and informal sector workers?
That's a very good question, considering that she has mentioned something about customers. And I think that's one thing that I think Premium Trust Bank stands out with, customer-centric. Like, we don't need to come and preach to you about that one. I think that's part of your brand, and I think that has come through even when we hear about you in the marketplace. And I think, so this goes for Premium Trust and for other banks, you really have to build with the customer in mind. And can your customer come in when you're designing the product? That's a key question we need to begin to ask. And this happens even in other spaces, like in the health, right? There are things that when you're building for, you bring the customer when you're building it, because they will give you realistic feedback about what you're building, right? So that you don't end up retweaking your features. You know, the IT people don't like changing features. But at the forefront, and I think your customer experience team is really on point. I think the acronym with heart, I think that comes true. I really don't have anything to add in terms of that. So build with your customer, not your customer in mind, but your customer in the room. I feel like that's what I would say, because I think we've already said build with your customer and build with your customer in the room. That's the best way. And most times when we say low-income earners, informal workers, it now looks as if they don't have money. That's not true. A colleague gave an instance about what are the number of markets available in Lagos, and someone was making instance about my 12 market. How by 4 o'clock, these people from the north with their huge trailers come in, sell the market to the women there, and they leave with billions of naira by 4 o'clock in the morning. But nobody is thinking, it's informal. You are not, like, there's money in Nigeria which is not in the formal system. I think we all know that. And then the CBN is really trying to drive that. But that's a huge market. Because it's informal doesn't mean that there's no money there. And I think that's also a perception with, traditional banks. That's why we are sort of pro-fintech. They want to take the risk and mop up the money. So while it's informal, doesn't mean there's no money there. When somebody says they're low income earner, doesn't mean that they will not earn 50,000 naira consecutively. So most times when we use term for this underserved market, it doesn't mean that they're not a worthy market to serve. It just means that you need to think innovatively. You need to think differently about how you approach them. But and bring them on board when you are building. Build with your customer in the room, not with your customer in mind. Honestly, I feel like that's really what I was saying. And as an ecosystem, we had conversation about building for the customers. So do that. Get them to test the features. Get them to give you, honest opinion about what it feels like. And we talk about doing day in the life. That you've given a woman a bank app. What if her husband is checking her bank app? Like, there are so many experiences, and most times we build for silo cases, right? People have unique experiences, and yes, you can segment the population, right, and try to serve the most population. But even within those populations, there are unique experiences, and that's why the customer feels personalized. That's personalized banking, and that's where we are going to, honestly. What's personalized banking? That you understand that this this debit alert that you sent to me that rings this way is affecting my relationship. That's personalized banking. And maybe you find another way to send me the debit alert, right? Those are some of the things that we're going to be seeing in the next 5 years. And it's good that, and I like that Premium Trust Bank is positioned as a customer bank. That's also something to look at. Build with your customers' room. Have open days. And I think some fintechs are doing that now, just to say. Have open days where your customers come in and, critique your product and really tell you what's working and what's not working for them. That's how you gain their trust. Remember, trust is the main thing. That's how you gain their trust. That's how you stand out. And word of mouth is really what sells financial system. I think that's how we see.
Yeah, I'll just add this phrase in. Start the journey with the customer and the journey with the customer.
Yeah. Okay.
So start that journey with them.
Yes.
So end the journey with them.
All right.
Sorry.
The way you said it made me want to do a shirt on that.
So, Busaya, let me just add something very simple to what she has said. So, the reality is that we are intentional about what our customers need. And thank God Tyre is here. We leverage on the design thinking methodology, which is user-centered. We, at the point of ideation, we bring in our customers. And this is something he does so well. I mean, he flogs it. Guys, test this product, what our customers saying. And, those are the channels that we get the real feedback. We go back to the drawing board. We inculcate this feedback on the product offerings. I mean, the surveys we carry out, we see customers telling us, you guys, you have red card. What about gray cards? Can you, customers' needs are endless. They are evolving. But we are available. I mean, we're here. We're positioned to keep. Exactly. That's it. So it's something that we started with. It's something that we are living. In fact, that's why we're here. We're here for the customer. Because at the end of the day, we must ensure that we start the product with the customer in mind and walk back towards technology. Because the technology is just the enabler. If we build a solution that is not easy to use, then we're probably just not selling to the right person.
Yeah. So you have what you have behind.
Exactly. Together for growth.
That's it.
So thank you for that.
I must add that if you look at the Blaze product, we actually spent almost a whole year getting feedback from our customers.
Yes.
Before launching it.
Yes.
And then the other features I also described that will be coming up, we are still testing in the market. We actually go there. We give them the prototype. Mm-hmm. They look at all those things. Well, you can't get all the feedback at once. So what we do is we iterate. Once we get the feedback again, we build, continue to leverage on that. So what now happens at the end of the day is that as you are getting that feedback and response from the customer, what you're talking about, that personalization, it starts becoming very personal.
Awesome.
If you look at our mobile application, for example, we have different security modes, like the mask mode. That's from customer. The customer wants, like you said, I don't want my balance to show this way. You can personalize that. You can customize it. So, Premium Trust, we don't just release products. Like you said, together for growth, we must stay with the
Co-create.
customer, understand the customer's needs before we roll out a product. Your point is well noted,
And just
we'll
like
continue to do that.
like our MD would always say, we co-create with our
Yes, we
customers.
co-create with them.
With our customers, yes.
All right. So we are still going to keep going on, just to keep making our points, redefining banking. So it still goes to show, because when you have so many products, it's one thing to have gone to the market, met with the customers, come back, work on their feedback and everything. But safeguarding whatever they've asked you to work on, safeguarding that product for them is always going to be key. And when you were having your session before we took the break, you were mentioning something about AI, how AI is going to change so many things. So I just want to ask you, with the rise of AI, open banking, and embedded finance, what should bank focus on to remain relevant and competitive in this evolving space?
Okay, so looking at the trend AI machine learning is going now, you find out that as it's being used for the good thing to drive innovation, the bad guys too are using it.
Oh, yes.
So now, in order to have a full safeguard of the entire ecosystem, you can't sit down still rely on the traditional security tools. So we have to come up with innovative solution integrated with AI and machine learning to be able to be a step ahead. For example, now you now have a case whereby when you are doing your security monitoring, we have a security operations center that does 24/7 monitoring of the network. How do you ensure that the security analysts, how can they work effectively on their job? For example, now, I can see, because the digital landscape, there are some people we call script kiddies. Script kiddies are the ones that they are not that technically savvy. However, because now on the internet you can buy exploits too with $10, $5. Some of them just want to test it against your platform. So, and what they just want to gain, just to be notoriety that I've done this. Now, how do you ensure that, as basic as that, how can you stay protected? So, for example, if such person is scanning your internet-facing platform now, and that IP has been known to be malicious, so instead of now waiting for a network administrator to go and block the IP address on the firewall, we have what we call AI embedded system, whereby it automatically triggers the blockage. For example, now, an employee logins out of pattern from what is the regular pattern. It flags it and put it on temporary block. Because what is happening is that by the time you rely on these traditional methods, you find out that you'll be reactive, not proactive. So that's one of the ways. And now, even the enterprise fraud management system, whereby AI is now playing big now, to be able to now learn user behavior, to be able to determine the next phase. For example, now, a customer that's known to be having some certain transaction pattern, and looking at it, you just see a sudden jump in the transaction. That should be a red flag. So in that case, the transaction should be flagged. Another one is that you even see is somebody that's coming up, whereby you have the enrollment, when I mentioned about synthetic ID, whereby somebody is having a genuine NIN or BVN, or combining it with fake details to create a synthetic ID. If you are using manual method to detect, it will be very difficult, especially if you have true for data coming in. So you have to be able to have a AI system that will be able to disintegrate the data to say, oh, look, this data is AI generated, and to be able to say, okay, further checks required. So with that, you'll be able to stay ahead and you'll be able to be more proactive, not reactive. So that's the trend in the area that the AI and ML is using to be able to protect the data, improve the efficiency of the security teams that are doing the back office of day-to-day management, and from the front end as well, people that the customer care that will want to respond to the customers, to be able to say, okay, before any transaction even flagged reported by customer, system have picked it and mitigate the risk. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that insightful, response to the question. So now I know the question has just been inside of here, and we still have our audience, our guests watching us online right now. So I'd like to confirm if the audience, if there are questions to ask our panelists at the moment. Our tech team, can you help us confirm if we have questions from the audience?
Any questions?
So,
So, you talked about open banking also. One thing that we are big on is open banking and premium trust. So, when we talk about the B2B model for the businesses, you have a lot of upcoming fintechs that require APIs for them to be able to do certain things. So we are big on that also, which is we'll be able to lend them APIs to be able to carry out certain transactions, and then when it comes to embedded finance also, we're also big on that. I also described when we're talking about giving them payment links whereby they can use to do pay in installments. So embedded finance from the insurance standpoint, open banking, premium trust is very big on that. And we encourage people to approach premium trust for such services. We're readily available. Thank you.
When it comes to financial inclusion, revolutionized products that is changing the face of banking today, you can be rest assured that Premium Trust Bank is the place to be. So as we round up today's engagement session, we thank everyone that joined us both physically and online. We are happy to say that Premium Trust Bank is part of the force that is redefining banking in Nigeria today. And, we are not just about money. We are doing this with our hearts. We are trying to reach both the underserved and the overserved, even the underrepresented. Premium Trust Bank is that force that is making sure that we are penetrating the right places at the right time. So thank you very much for having us here. Thank you, great panelists. It was great hearing from you. Mm-hmm. You had so much information, so much knowledge and power to impact with us today. So I'm very thankful for that. So we would draw the curtain down. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.